Hello, friends. Welcome back. Friends After 40. What is going on?
What's up? What's up?
And you know what today is, right?
Sunday.
Like my man Al Roker.
Like our man Al Roker. No cease and desist letter yet on that, so that's a
Yeah,
good thing,
yeah.
We're
right?
gonna keep doing it.
We're going to keep going. Keep going.
Until they shout us out
Yeah.
on the Today Show.
We need a mug.
Well, today we've got a fun episode in store for our listener out there. And so we have a guest joining us on today's episode. So he's a friend of ours back in the days from high school. And he is with us today on the show because not only is just a friend of ours, but he's actually got a very interesting past. And when I say interesting, it's actually very timely. His past is quite timely for what's happening today.
Yeah.
So this friend of ours is a family man. He is an entrepreneur. He is a friend, obviously, and he is also the youngest ever producer for the famous, I guess we can now say infamous,
Infamous.
Okay.
Yep.
Bad Boy
right, yeah.
Records label at 16 years old. So we're happy to bring him on. So let me bring in our friend, and let me introduce you guys all to Rich Younglord. Hey, Rich.
Hey,
What's
Rich.
up, Rich?
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
Good.
What's
How are
going
you?
on?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for finally bringing me on the show. You know, I watch it and I'm like, Dag, one day I'm gonna make it up there.
Well,
we
thanks
had-
for making us feel good about
Yeah.
that.
we had to bump somebody, so
Yeah, we did make
I'm
room.
glad you were available.
Well,
Look at his face. Look at his
We have a long list.
yeah, I know. You told Russell he'll do it next week. You know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Rich, it's been a while since we've all got to hang out. I think the last time we all saw each other, we were out for, was it Janine's
I think
birthday?
it was Janine's.
I think it was
Brooklyn?
you had a brunch
Oh,
in
in
Brooklyn,
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Remember
And
that?
you took us to a
Gosh.
bakery.
Yes,
took us to a
yes,
bakery.
yes.
Yeah, we had to walk.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I was like, are we there yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, those Brooklyn streets, it's like maybe 2 blocks, but they're like huge blocks.
Yeah,
they're
long
long.
blocks.
Yeah.
Super Avenue
Yeah.
blocks.
That is funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
That was not the last time we saw you, though, was it?
I don't know.
Oh.
Time
Okay.
goes so fast.
I know.
Well, I feel like since then you've gotten married, you've had babies. It's been all the things have been
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on. So,
Oh man, so much life has happened. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
so
Good
talk
things.
to us a little
Good
bit. we've got questions for you,
Why
Rich.
you
We've got
Hey,
some
well,
looking at me?
things going
Let's go.
on in the world today, and we want to catch up with you. But
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to take it back to high school, right? Because one of the things, like, as long as I've known you, I would always say to Ramon, I was like, I never really talked to Rich about work, right? You and I
Mhm.
never really talked about that. But,
Right,
and I
right.
kind of knew, well, I shouldn't say kind of, I did know that you were a producer, you were, working for Puff, you were part of the Hitmen squad, right?
Correct.
But I don't know if I really knew how that all came to be.
Right.
So tell us, how
Well-
did you at 16 years old pull that off?
I don't know. I really don't know. It was timing. It was all in the right timing. It's they were a new company, and I just happened to get in at the right time, and it was just by chance. I was at school one day in Cardinal Spellman,
Mhm.
and these girls, I was sitting down. It was like a free period, 6th period, and they talked about Craig Mack and Puff Daddy, and a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I need to get down with this guy. And I went, just called information, got the number to his office, and then
You
called
called
the office.
information, so
Like
like
411.
411.
Yeah,
On a
yes.
payphone.
So I'm not ashamed to say years and stuff like that. This was 1994, so it was payphones heavy, and quarters still made things happen. So I happened to have some quarters.
I mean, it did for you.
Oh yeah. Called, information, and they straight up gave me the number, and then I called. Back then, what's real cool is I know all the people now, who were on the
Yeah.
other line of picking up the phone. But it was the receptionist. Her name was Glennis, and she was like, I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm 16. I'm the best producer in the world. Like, who do I need to talk to?" And she was like, I think Harv handles that. And I was like, "Okay, can I talk to him?"
Put him through.
Yeah, put him
I'll
through.
hold.
And she was like, he's not here right now. So I kept calling. That period is like 42 minutes. So like I expected him to be there. But he wasn't there. So I had one more quarter left, and I called home. And my brother, whose name is Harvey as well, he was home. And I told him, I gave him the number. I said, "Call this number, ask to speak to a guy named Harv, and set up a meeting for me with them." And he was like, "All right, bet." And by the time I got home from school that day, he set up a meeting for
Wow.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Wow.
me. Yeah, it was. It was. So that's
That's
a lesson right there. If you, you want to start something, get with a company that's like on the ground running, because the chances of getting in are easier then,
Mhm.
it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And from there, I had a meeting with Harv Pierre, who didn't necessarily like my music.
So he told you that?
No, he didn't tell me that, but he didn't tell me he liked it either. He was like, "Okay, well," he was like, "We'll get back to you," and I was like, "Okay, no problem." So they actually did get back to me, and they said that Puff wanted to meet me, and I met with him, and he told me straight up he didn't like my music.
What was that like? I mean,
Right?
you're meeting Puff, right? I mean, I know it was early on of, like the early years of Bad Boy, but it was still Bad Boy,
Mhm.
you
it
know?
wasn't that important to me at the time, like it wasn't because my heroes were like Pete Rock. I was really into his
Mm,
stuff, and
mm-hmm.
to me, I always heard about him, but I thought he was like an R&B guy, which I didn't really do R&B music. And he wasn't like a baby face LA to
Mm-hmm.
me at that time,
Right.
so what he, it was cool. I didn't know he was going to become what he became, but thank God he was so confident in himself. He was just like, "Look, you're idolizing the wrong people." Okay. So he's like, you need to just start listening to a bunch of things. And he was like, "We're going to put you on the job training." And this guy was, he totally gassed me up. Like, "Look, we're going to start you at 10,000 a track. I could sell tracks to anybody." He had that swag. And then I remember after I signed, you know, I finally like got something that he liked, and I was like, "Okay, well, where's the 10,000?" He's like, "Man, sell some records." Totally flipped on me.
Oh my god.
But it's okay. Lesson learned. Yeah. I was like, "Okay, I know how to mess with you. I know how to get you."
Mm.
But yeah, it was an amazing experience.
So how did you, I mean, so you get signed, but does that mean like that you're uh put to work right away? Like how did you, like, what was that process? Because I mean you're 16, right? Like how
Yes.
much
So
experience do you really have?
Right.
I had no experience. So being 16, it made it a little longer. Like we had to go before like a court, to see the contract and approve the contract. But
Mm-hmm.
it was really cool because he gave me, upfront money, which was later on, it's like, dang, this is nothing. This is peanuts. But at the time, I'm like, yes, wow. Yeah. Oh man.
So what
So
what do you do with upfront money? Like why would a producer need that?
because we did a publishing deal, right? So
Uh-huh.
with publishing, you have to pretty much pay for it. Like, so publishing is like the real estate of the song, right? So you can lease it, you can sell it, you can do so
Mm.
many different things with it. So just to give you a quick breakdown of it, is a song. There's two parts of the compensation. There's a writer's part where the government mandates that you cannot give it away, that you cannot do anything with it. That goes to the writer forever, plus 75 years. So their lifetime plus 75 years. And then, so let's say that's $1, right? So then there's another dollar that is always attached. That's the publishing dollar. And that you can lease, you can sell, you can do different things. So the deal that I did with Bad Boy at the time was that publishing section, we split. So he got 50 cents and then I got 50 cents.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, right. So it was, you have to give in advance for that, and especially since I was so young and doing the court thing, it had to be, something, decent. So it was cool because it gave me money to pay back my parents for the investment they made in me, and gave me some more money to buy records, so it worked out.
Did your parents think that their investment would bear that type of fruit?
No. It's funny, like I said, looking back, you see things differently. And I talk to my parents and you hear a different conversation. And my mother tells me that when I was like maybe 8 or 9, she went to get a car fixed, and these guys came in. They had big gold chains, because that's was the thing back then with the rappers and the drug dealers. And she said, I told them, I told her that when I grow up, I'm going to have that. And she said it really scared her because she believed it. She knew that I was going to have it. She didn't know how I was going to have it. So when I got into music, they felt it was a way to keep me in the house because in a way from drug dealers, because, being young, from the Bronx, there was other 14-year-olds selling drugs. That was like a real thing. So they were happy to make that investment.
When did you know that you liked music? Like, how old were you? Because 16 is young, but like
14. Like music, I like music, period. And I think that my entrance into music was watching House Party. That was a pivotal
God.
movie in my life. I saw that movie and I was like, Mom, I want to have a party. I was in the 6th grade. And she let me have a party. And then at that party, I had a friend named Toya, and I invited Toya. Toya was like, "Oh, can I bring my sister?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know her sister, but I met her sister, right, whose name was Bianca, and I, like, 6th grade, fell in love with Bianca. And though Bianca would only like talk to me at my party, so I kept throwing parties.
He's a fast learner.
Yeah. So that so throwing parties, you gotta have a DJ, right? So you gotta get some records, and so that whole thing came along with that. So when I started high school, I met this girl named Dee that I went to high school with. I was trying to get her phone number. I was walking her from the bus, and this guy came up to me after she left. He's like, "Yo, is that your girlfriend?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, you got great taste." I was like, "Thank you." He's like, "Are you into music?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he was like, "Look, I got a recording studio around the corner." And he gave me his card. He said, "You're welcome to come by whenever you want." And the guy was a legitimate player in the music business. And at his studio, it was crazy. It was called TD Hype, and his partner was a guy named Tony Dofat, who at the time was producing Heavy D, Mary J. Blige, and a bunch of people. So I got to meet him and his brother Jesse West, who was doing like Lost Boys and just a bunch of early Biggie. So I got to sit in those sessions, and I got hyped. I was like, "Oh, I want to do this." It seemed fun. It seemed I don't know, it seemed great. I just love the buttons. It was really cool.
He wanted to touch all the buttons.
Talk about
So
right place,
you're,
right
I
time.
mean, but like these stories are so crazy to me that you've like call 411, you get an
Mhm.
interview, you know, at Bad Boy, that you're standing at this bus stop in the Bronx, right? And this guy
Yeah.
walks up to you and he turns out to be like an actual legitimate person in the music industry. It's like
Mhm.
wild.
Yeah,
Like
my
what? And you're
life.
a kid.
It's like
Like
everything was just
Yeah.
lining up.
Yeah, I'm so thankful, just for my experience, because it's full of random things. Like my whole life is just of random things, and one day I'm going to understand why and how, like why
Mm-hmm.
things happen. But it's really cool, and I'm so thankful for it. It's been a really good ride so far.
Mm.
Talking about parties, right? Because I remember because you were producing. How I learned how you were producing is you came to my locker and you said I'm a producer, but
No. You told me, you was like, he came to my locker and said, I heard you rap.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I make beats.
I make beats. That's exactly. I make beats.
I make beats.
Come to my
Well-
studio. and I came to your studio, which was your basement, and you had this little 4-track you sampled, and in order to advance, like you said, a huge part of your inspiration was Pete Rock, and the machine that Pete Rock used to make beats was the SP1200, and you had this idea is like, in order to advance my music, I need to get an SP1200. So to bring us
Yeah.
back to the whole party thing, and he was like, I know how I'm gonna make this money. I'm gonna throw a
All
party.
Well, you know what? It wasn't just the party. It was funny. So there's a artist named Top Quality who was in that studio, and we became friends. And he just got signed, and he had all this money, and he was feeling good about himself, which he should have been at the time. And he was like, "Look, you need to get this machine, whatever, blah blah blah." And the machine was $2,000. So he
Yes.
said, "Look, if you could come up with $1,000, I'll give you the other 1,000, and you just give me some beats." So I was like, all right, well, how am I going to come up with $1,000, right? So, and this is a story I don't tell many people, but this is real life, So I'm 14. $1,000 is like $1 million,
Yes.
So
Mhm.
the first thing I thought of was like, all right, well, maybe I got to sell drugs or something like that. Seriously, that's the first thing that went through my mind. And I knew a drug dealer who I grew up with, and I told him, I was like, I need to get this machine. And he was like, all right, cool, no problem. So he told me to meet him at this place on Gun Hill Road in Bronxwood, outside this Chinese restaurant. So I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. He said, meet him there at 1. So, I'm there at like 1 at 12:45, and I remember bringing a butter knife out of my house
You were early
Just-
to meet a drug dealer.
just in case.
With a butter
Just
knife.
to show how
Just in
punctual,
case.
to show how
Hey.
professional you are, though.
Listen, hey, I watch movies. I need to protect myself, right? So I remember being there, and I came, and he was like, "All right, cool." Then he's like, "You know what?" He said, "I'll help you any way I can, but I'm not gonna let you do this. I'm not gonna let you do this. This is not
Oh,
for
he was
you."
a nice
right?
drug dealer.
Wow.
Straight up. And I'm still in touch with this guy, and I tell him the
Mhm.
story all the time. He has no recollection of this thing, right?
my
Oh,
God.
wow.
But so that was my first thought, and that didn't work. So I was like, okay, I had to figure out something else. So I started just asking people, how can I get $1,000? And this one kid at school that I had lunch with, he said, yo, there's 2,000 kids that go to our school. How can you get $1 from each kid? So that changed the question. So I started asking people that. And this girl said, why don't you sell raffle tickets? And I was like, bing. So I was like, great. So I packed bags and came up with $60 and printed up 2,000 raffle tickets for the Starving Artists Club. I created this whole club.
That's right. That's what it was called.
And I had two prizes. It was like a CD man, which was new at the time. It was like pretty advanced, and then a Walkman. And I hit the streets and I would sell raffle tickets to anybody. It was it was crazy. I put all of that Catholic school hustle I learned throughout the years to work.
Selling chocolate.
Selling chocolates. I had a little sales experience, and it was a really cool experience.
What did your parents think you were doing? Did
They
your
thought I
parents
was
know?
yeah, they knew, because I tried to get them to take it to work and they refused to do it. They thought I was scamming people.
Oh my God.
They refused to do it. And it was yeah, my family was very like, because my father has like, 10 brothers and sisters. He has a huge family, and they weren't messing with me and my raffle tickets. I thought I would at least have a built-in base, with that. But nah, they weren't messing with me. But luckily, a lot of people that would come through the studio that I would go to, and they wouldn't be, they would just be beginning their careers too, and they would buy raffle tickets. They would support. They would, they were experiencing their part of that dream too. So they would support, and I would just go anywhere. I just walk up and down White Plains Road, try to like sell it to the stores and the people. And I actually got half the money. I got the $1,000, and I had a party, as Ramon referenced, and people did win the prizes. So I got the $1,000, and I spoke to Top Quality, and he like caught amnesia. He was like, "I said what? For real, me?"
First
I was like, "All right, cool.
Uh-huh.
Lesson learned. Lesson learned."
Yep.
But
Lesson
at
learned.
that point, my parents they saw how serious I was, and they helped me get the machine, and I was like super happy day, just getting that machine and just going in. After that, it was on.
So you're 16 at this point still?
No, I'm 14
You're
when I got the
14.
SP200. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
14, then 16 you get signed. And so at what point do you go from, I guess, like learning, observing, right, to actually producing tracks that maybe we all know?
Probably about another 2 years.
So 18? Really?
Yeah. Those the next 2 years were spent watching some like magical sessions. Like I was there for a lot of historic records, and I got to actually be a part of it. They used to have me do a lot of things that they didn't want to do, so they would teach me and then just like make me do it.
Like what?
It was like, for example, doing the drops in records, doing the clean edits, supervising the mixes, uh, the mastering sessions, the ad libs, not the ad libs, the interludes, the interludes.
Interludes were a big thing in the 90s, right?
Oh man, listen, I thought I was doing something when
But did you run an interlude in the nude?
No, but I had a great time. But I remember I remember me getting a phone call from Diddy and Derek Angeletti, who was the head of A&R. This is probably like, this is 96. And I remember them laughing, right? And I didn't really, looking back, I kind of understand. Like they really was like just maybe try to play me or something. They was like, "Yo, you know what? You are the head of interludes."
Okay, so
But
now I gotta know, what interludes did you do that we would know?
Head of interludes.
I was a part of all of those interludes, from those classic albums, with
We
the
talking
20s,
about
the Life After
Biggie?
Death. We talk about Mace. We talk Locks, like
Wow.
all of that classic run
Uh-huh.
of the recordings from late 96 to maybe 98. And it was, what was so dope about it to me is that I had like my own sessions that I can like set up to do things, and I used to it was like my thing. So at any given time, you'll see me like walking from not just Daddy's house, the studio, but like to Hit Factory with a big box of like sound effects and it was like my responsibility, which I took pride in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would try and sneak myself into a lot of the different interludes. So it's like I'm all over like Mace's album. Like it's funny, but I would come up with like some of the ideas with Derek, and then just kind of execute them and supervise the mixing and the recording and stuff like that. So it was really cool. Yeah, great experience. Yeah. So I went from there. Then I started producing records with Puff. So on all of those albums, I got to produce some records. With the exception, I didn't produce any records directly on Big's Life After Death album. I was one of the guys on Hypnotized record, and that just was happened by accident. Like Puff wanted to change some hi-hats on the record, and he didn't actually touch any machines. And there was nobody else around, and I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. So he's like, all right, do it. So I did it. And then I was able to be a part of that record, which was really cool.
What was it like working with Puff, though, Rich?
It was different at different times, but I would say that he was very focused. He was very he was very result driven. He knew what he wanted, and you got to get it quick, or you're going to be left. Period. Yeah, that's what I could say about him during that time. And he was very harsh on his criticism. You had to have a thick skin to work with him. Yeah, you had to. Yeah, because you just would die or something if you actually took what he said personally. I mean, you just want to go kill yourself or something.
Not much has changed.
So do you feel like he made you better, like good at being a producer? Because I mean, when you're getting that kind of feedback, you need feedback, right, in order to be better. But when you're being given such direct feedback, and you have this, thick skin that's thick enough to handle it, I mean, do you attribute a lot of success? But
Well,
I
you know
want to say,
what?
like, even the quality of his work to those years, right?
You know what? It was. I learned so much. I learned. I think one of the best things I learned is about teamwork. And I think one of his superpowers is putting the right energy in a room to create the magic. One thing that was cool was with a bunch of the different producers, everybody had different personalities. Everybody was from a different place in life. And it was a certain energy that was created when everybody was around. So I learned that. And one of the cool people I got to meet and learn from is Babyface. And I got to meet him the summer of '95. I actually used to be in like supervising Face sessions during her first album. And one day he just popped in, and I'm bugging out. I'm like, yo, that's Babyface. I gotta say something. So I said the stupidest thing I could think of. I was like, do you teach? And he was like, nah, I don't teach. So I told him, I'm, bad boy producer, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, can I take you out to lunch? And he was like, take me out to lunch. And he was like, sure. He's like, meet me tomorrow at the studio at 1 p.m. So I was there like 12:30, ready. And he didn't walk in. He didn't come in until about 4:00.
What?
But
You waited?
I waited there.
Wow.
Waited there.
Did
And
he
when
forget?
he walked in, yeah, he forgot. When I walked in, he looked surprised, and he's like, oh. And then, but it was the coolest thing because he let me sit in his sessions, and he was recording all the New York vocals for "Waiting to Excel" for that sound check.
Oh,
So I was
Oh
wow.
there
wow.
when he did the Mary record, when he did the Tony Braxton record, Faith record. I think it was SWV, and I got to see how he worked, which was complete opposite of how Diddy worked. As far as like Diddy's like, yo, he's just loud and just very like you're fucking up all the time.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And Babyface was like super quiet, but there was a different type of power this guy had. Like one time the engineer came in late and he didn't do what he's supposed to do, and Babyface is just like asking him questions that the answers made the engineer like feel really stupid, but so it was like he got whipped without him having to raise his voice.
Right.
I thought that was so cool,
Mhm.
So I got to experience that whole thing, and it was a great thing, that whole part. So I got to meet him and a bunch of other great people that kind of shaped how I try things and make things happen.
It sounded like you were in an abusive relationship and you saw what a healthy relationship looked like. So speaking of
I was
abusive
gonna say on that note.
Yeah. Great transition.
Right. Yeah, things are a little different now for my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how during this conversation you kind of differentiated who we were talking about by speaking about Sean Combs as Puff when you worked with him, and speaking about him as Diddy now. Do you
Yeah,
still
well, you
call him?
know what? I don't know, man. It's this guy really would change his name and would really stand by it, like, so when he first changed his name to P Diddy, he's like, hey, I'm P Diddy now, like he was serious, I'm like, yo,
You have a whole different persona.
you,
I forgot
you
about
was
P. Diddy.
you was Puff last week, like then now he's Diddy, and it's amazing how like now all this current information coming out on what he's being accused of doing and
Mhm.
all this stuff about his relationships and his sexual preference, and it's it's amazing, man. I'm seeing these accusations, and listen, I stopped working with him fully. I think maybe it was 2009, something like that. That's when our business relationships ended, and I would see him every now and again, but it wouldn't be like what it was, just be like in passing, and it was always cool. But hearing these accusations of him, you know I heard something about like he raped a 9-year-old boy in a studio or something, and that's a hard for me to swallow, because I'm like, number one, if that was, I don't think anything can happen in the studio, that it's without everybody knowing about it. It was it just, there was so many people there at all times. It was a real business. It wasn't like his bedroom or something,
Right.
and there was also outside security working all the time. It wasn't his security that secured the studio, so uh, and then I don't know, it's a lot, but wow, and I can't believe a lot of these allegations. It's unfortunate that he's dealing with this, but wow, you're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As so, you were a young producer at Bad Boy. Said at 14. Did your mom ask you any questions? Did your parents show any concern after seeing all these allegations come up on TV?
Oh yeah, man. Listen, I remember my mother. Well, the first funny thing is my older brother called me, and he called me last year right before the New York law where you can sue somebody for like the
Mm-hmm.
past. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, look, man, after the Cassie thing came out, he's like, hey, look, man, tell me the truth. He's like, you were young, it wasn't your fault.
Oh my goodness.
He's like, tell me what happened to you. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm like, man, nothing happened to me. Then my mother calls me after all this craziness about his parties, and she's like, Richard, did you go to his parties?
Mhm.
Like, I was at a lot of parties, but I didn't see nothing like that. I wasn't a part of those parties. And then the funniest thing, my dad was at my house maybe 2 weeks ago or something, and was a guy, Cuomo's brother,
Andrew?
Andrew Cuomo, right? I guess the guy who got the show, right? So
Mhm.
he was interviewing Suge Knight, and they were talking about, like, Suge Knight was talking about these rituals that people would go through, and he was like, something about you got to put an egg up your butt. And as he's telling these stories, there's pictures of the Hitmen in the background.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, yo, what do I got to do with this?
so you're like B-roll probably during the worst part
Yeah.
of an interview.
Exactly.
Oh,
Right. So it's just funny. But I've gotten calls from the New York Times, and
Mhm.
they asked me to do an interview about the old times, and I said, look, I told them straight up, I that was not my experience.
Mhm.
I haven't seen any of that stuff, and I honestly have nothing, but great things to say. He put me in a position to win, in life, beyond
Mhm.
music, and I'm very thankful for that. And the what I felt around them, him and a lot of the other guys, was actually a sense of protection. Like, there were certain, like, he always was like, all right, this guy, what, he's not drinking, he's not, not that I was trying to, but he would make sure, like, hey, this guy is
Mhm.
not going to be around this, for whatever reason. So when I hear stories about, he was trying to do this to Usher or do this, and it's hard for me to swallow, because I'm like, hey, I was super young as well, and it was a total opposite thing for me. And he was always focused on the end game, which was selling records. Now, after he got stupid rich and things happened, I don't know, but from my dealings with him, it wasn't any of that.
Were you around him and Cassie? Because they dated for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a unique observation from that, and before all this stuff came out, I thought that they actually really fucked with each other. I felt like there was some genuine relationship thing, So
Mm.
it's at first I'm like, well, maybe she might be, exaggerating a little bit,
Mhm.
Yeah.
maybe,
Mhm.
just because of my experience. And also I got to see it from how they got together, because she
Right.
was with Ryan Leslie beforehand,
Yeah.
who's my guy. And so I got to kind of see that. And, that was a little suspect,
Mhm.
so, but after seeing that video, I realized I do not know everything, and I wasn't there around every
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but I always felt that, like, what people do in their bedrooms with their significant others, that's their business. So if he is freaking off with Cassie, then that's what they do. If he's freaking off with a guy, then that's what he does. That's
Mhm.
has nothing to do with me. But I'm curious to see how they turn it into what this whole bigger thing with the Ricos. I don't understand that, but we'll see.
Word.
Mm.
Mhm.
So you've never seen one bottle of baby oil at the party, basically.
Or in the studio.
Nah. But
He's thinking about
I tell you this though, and this is why it's hard for me to believe, because uh, women would be at the studio or trying to get in the studio, and the, nobody had to be forced for anything,
Right.
Mhm.
and that's just coming from my perspective, So I don't think that he was flying in people to. I, I don't believe that,
Mhm.
I just didn't. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's possible. But you never know. You never know these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you make enough
But I
money,
didn't.
right?
Yep.
I didn't see any baby oil. But I'm sure that there were after parties after the party.
Yeah.
That's probably a real thing.
So you
Mhm.
never got invited to the after party.
Well, I remember I remember one time this was after the opening of Justin's in Atlanta, and they had this after party for the opening, so it was at like some club somewhere else, and I remember talking to Mace, and he was like, "Yo, who you got?" He's like, "You alone?"
Mhm.
And I had my cousin with me and another one of my friends, and I remember looking at them and be like, "Nah, man." And he was like, "All right." So I know there were other things probably going on after that.
Oh, okay, I get it.
But I wasn't there. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
I really don't know.
Mm.
All
It's
good.
like,
All good.
not gonna bring my cousin up in
not,
Yeah.
not throwing anybody under the bus
Yeah.
right now.
Oh man.
So
All right.
what's life for Rich looking like today? We're 20, 30, almost 30 years out from that particular time in your life, and as we start to round third base here in our discussion, what's life like today?
Oh man, life, life is it's really cool. It's really cool. One of the dope things that I got to experience was I got to meet this guy named Clarence Avon. He just died last year. They actually have a Netflix special about him called The
Yeah.
Black Godfather,
Yep.
which if you didn't see, you got to check out. And wow, many years ago, I was so lucky to meet him. I remember I met this girl, and I don't know how we started talking about him. I always wanted to meet him, and she was like, "Yeah, that's my uncle." And I'm like, "Get out of here! You're lying." You know what I'm saying? She's like, "No, for real, that's my uncle." So I was like, "Well, I'm going to Los Angeles next week, and if it's your uncle, set it up. I want to meet him." She was like, "All right,"
Done.
and she really did. Like, and he came to my hotel, and he sat with me. We sat for like 4 hours, and then
Wow.
from then on, every time I would go to LA, we would meet at IHOP for breakfast. And I don't even think he liked IHOP, but I did, And
You
he
love those
so he would,
Yeah.
pancakes.
yeah, it was like central to where it was like to where he was and where I used to stay when I would be out there. So we would meet, and I learned so many things from him. He was such a cool person, and one of the things he taught me was that everything's going to go wrong at some point. Things go wrong, and so you have to be resilient to be a problem solver.
Mhm.
And then he also told me that, like, he didn't know how he did what he did. He said he just tried things out, and some
Mhm.
things worked and some things didn't work. So that kind of set the pattern for what I would do in the future. And a lot of things went wrong. A lot of things went real wrong, but a lot of things went right. So now I'm still in that same spirit, and I have a few cool things going on. Maybe about I guess two years now, I started this company with my boy Kev called Residual Track, and what we do is we help producers collect their producer royalties. So producer royalties were like a fictional thing. Like you heard about them, you signed contracts with them, but you just never received them. You just, you didn't know why. Maybe a few years ago, I received one royalty check, and I was like, "Oh shoot, what is this?" So I started doing research to collect royalty checks on all of my records, and out of nowhere, I was getting these checks because they were like stacked up from years, and
Wow.
I was like, wow, there's probably other guys who have the same issue,
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, we're going to collect guys' royalties and get a little fee on it. And so we created a great team to do it, signed on a bunch of great producers, and ran into a bunch of trouble. And what we found is that like a lot of the reasons why producers weren't getting royalties, and on some records I haven't received royalties on, is because of the samples, right? Samples, which I didn't realize back then. I guess nobody realized back then, but they cost a lot of money, and sometimes they would get more points than we would get as producers. So I give you an example. Some of my clients, they have an album. They would be on the albums, like let's say Get Rich or Die Trying, right? So I'm like, wow, we're about to get money on this album because you sold like 10 million records, right? And we'll go in and the client would be $300,000 in debt. And you'd be like, why is this happening? So we did the research and figured out these samples. So we pivoted from there and we were like, okay, well, let's represent the guys who made the samples.
So, Rich, now that you're out of this music business and things like that, how is your family life? You got married, you have children. Let us know.
Yeah, it's crazy right now. I have children and I'm married and extracurricular activities and in-laws and everything.
In-laws. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you got married, I want to say like later on, right? Because we've been together since we've been super young in our 20s, right?
Yep.
And you got married in your 40s, 30s, late 30s?
Yeah. I got married at like 42.
Wow.
So you was doing your thing
Yikes.
for a long time before you decided to settle down.
I was out there in the streets.
Thanks for the honesty. Okay. And you had the baby at what age? You had the baby at what age?
At 43.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh my god! So this is this is new for you.
40.
Oh.
Yeah. This is new. This is new. This is
harder
experience.
Is it harder than hustling for like calling Diddy at 16? Being a parent.
Oh yeah. I think this is an experience. But what is real cool is I feel like I'm able to apply a lot of things I learned about just dealing with people, because it's not just my wife, it's the children at different phases in their lives and what they got going on, and to kind of be able to talk with them and help them through whatever there is and create that communication is it's an adjustment, and it's an adjustment for me to I've always been patient, but I think this is like extra patience. This is like
it is, I'm sure. So wait, can you just tell everyone the ages of the kids? So we know you have the baby, she's 3, right?
Right.
And how old are the bonus kids? I love that you call them that, by the way.
I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Oh.
So
okay.
It's
fun.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
So you're tired, yes?
I'm tired. I find myself being very, very tired. And what I found is I had to really figure out scheduling, figure out because I just can't break out and do what I want to do when
Mhm.
I want to do it, when I get the feeling. So I found myself like getting up at like 3 a.m. to like, do what I got to do until
Wow.
like 7. And then, um, helping, getting the baby ready or whatever. Once, they go to school, then I'm able to do what I got to do, go to the gym and,
Mhm.
do what I got to do. And
Mhm.
then it seems like 4 o'clock, it just
Comes too fast.
starts again. Yeah. And then the extracurricular activities.
What kind of activities?
Yeah.
What
Well,
are these kids
it's
in?
part 2 of your day, right? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one part
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
day ends and another part of the day begins.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. 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 So it's name one. They're doing
All the
everything.
Basketball.
Name one activity.
Basketball. And, it's funny, right? It's funny.
Name one.
I find myself like, when I'm at practice or something, I'm like, run faster. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, like I'm investing this time, and if you're not gonna make it to the league, then I need to be home doing something else. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. It's like, you wasting my time, kid.
Yeah, I be putting mad pressure on them.
If you can't perform, I'm going to throw you off the cliff with the rest of them that did not perform.
Run faster.
Yo,
That's a t-shirt.
Oh my God.
Run faster.
I know, but it's so funny.
Run
When I
faster.
film it,
Nike.
and I watch it, and you can hear my voice in the background. I'm like, run faster.
Okay,
What
but
what is your
That-
wife
that-
saying? Like, what is she saying to you when as you're screaming out, "Run faster"?
Oh, she's not there. She's doing something.
she has her own
it's-
personal time while you're
No,
Well, you're the-
I wish she did. But it's like one of us, there's
The
they're
divide
all
and
at
conquer.
different levels.
divide and
Yeah.
conquer.
So there's
yeah.
always something going on. So like, for the baby, she goes to swimming, she's in dance, and then the 13-year-old, thankfully, she decided like she didn't want to do anything.
Thankfully.
So
She's
I'm
taking a
like,
break.
you sure? You sure? Oh, okay. Fine.
Going once, going twice.
But Rich,
You're
so-
done.
Right.
You get
She's
no
like,
other
"I'm tired
extracurricular
of telling me to
activities.
run faster."
That's what it was. It was the pressure from her bonus dad.
She said, nope, I saw what the other child went through. I'm not doing that.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm out. I'm out."
For those reasons, I'm out.
Yeah.
Those reasons I'm out.
Oh man, but it's such a cool experience to see them like learn and grow and figure things out. So like Miles, who's the 10-year-old, back I remember when he was like 6, he used to be really into science and like stars, the moon. So
Mhm.
you try and support that stuff. So you give him
Mhm.
books about stars and the moon, and he would be on YouTube looking up things, and he found that there's this like comet that's like could come by the Earth and just take us out.
Oh
So he's telling-
no.
yeah.
Armageddon.
So right. So he's telling me this, right? And he's really worried about it, right?
Aw.
So me, I'm trying to be, supportive and encourage him to continue looking into it because I think it's pretty cool that he's doing it. So I'm like, look, maybe you were meant to, see this so that you can figure out something that can, we can hit the comet so it could go a different
Mhm.
way and you could save the planet.
Mhm.
And he was like, save the planet? I'm only 6. I can't save the
Run faster. Run faster.
Or you can tell him to watch the
Save the
movie.
planet.
Tell him to watch the movie. Don't look up.
Don't look up.
That's awful.
Like, well, kid, you got to run faster. That's it.
Run
Oh
faster.
man.
So what was that transition like though? Because you went from single, independent, like
Mhm.
bachelor life to instant family. So what was that transition like?
It was like this.
Mm.
It was like this. So so my wife, I knew her for a long time. We have always been friends, and I think one day I was at my parents' house, and I was going through like a box of like old stuff, and I found like some pictures of her or whatever the case is, and I sent it to her, like just to show her herself or whatever. From there, we kind of like talking and hanging out, and but it was like a cool thing, it wasn't. I wasn't looking at it like that. Then it grew into something more, and I'm never afraid of a challenge, and the kids. I was like, well, that's a bit of a challenge, but I can do it. I'm not, I'm not worried
Just a
about
bunch of
that.
raising a bunch of human beings. I mean, whatever.
But he was
Yeah,
always
yeah,
good with kids.
But what?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
because
always,
he used to say
He was good
Younglord
with
loves
kids.
the kids.
Yep.
But you
yeah.
But did you go into it like when you dated? Was it like an introduction to the children, or was it like
How did you navigate it?
Well, it was kind of weird because we dated for a long time without the kids being involved, and then
right?
once we decided that this is what it was, then it was like, oh, you know, here's Richard, so it was for them. For them, it was probably went fast as well, but it was cool. It was really cool, and they're good kids, and I'm real thankful that they're good and they listen.
Good. So you're telling me they
It
took
works
to
out.
you right away?
No, I didn't say that. Nah, it wasn't. Yeah, you go through some trial and error.
Like,
Okay.
who's this
learn
mother?
each other. Because there were certain things that just nuances. And,
Sure.
I'm like a practical joker.
Oh. No.
Scaring kids would be funny, you know what I'm saying? But
You thought
I mean, that's-
scaring kids would be funny?
That's one way to onboard a new
Scary
family.
Kids would be funny. You know what? I'm gonna scare the crap out of these kids and hope they like
oh
me.
man.
So
I
then-
don't know. I see what I think what happened is when in my mind, right, when I make a decision to do something, it's already done.
Yes.
Right. So it's not like I had to onboard myself. So, in my mind, I'm already moving like we have that relationship. Even though it may not be there.
They're like, mm-mm.
But in your mind, that's what it is. It's like, okay.
That's what it
all right.
is. That's what it is.
That's how he got
so
signed to
it's-
Bad Boy.
I
Yeah.
know this is right. This is the recurring theme of his life. Once he's made a decision, it's already
That's
done.
it. It's done.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, I had a
Yeah.
quarter. I went to the payphone and I said,
right.
411.
you kids. Welcome, mommy and new baby daddy.
So
Wait, I need another quarter because we need to extend this call.
I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I
hard
kinda
there,
just-
put him through.
I just jump into things, I just go for it, and I also like but I was very lucky because I have a lot of support just from family, friends, and just people, and it helped a lot that my wife and I were friends before, so it was
Yeah.
very easy, and I just enjoyed her company without anything. So it was just it was really cool. It was really cool. But I say some of the big problems were like food, like the question of what are we going to eat for dinner. That's like,
was gonna
it keeps
ask,
on
who's
coming up.
Big
I was like, wait,
Who's doing the
were you
cooking?
struggling to put food on the table? Like, where were
Oh,
you going?
man.
So
Who's
everybody wants
gonna-
something
who's gonna-
different.
who-
Everybody wants
Yes.
something different.
So Rich might be
Not
able
e-
to make some biscuits from scratch.
Well, you know what? It's
Are you making
See-
other things too?
I am. See, but everybody's so picky, and my wife, she's like she acts like she don't want to cook, but then she like she be taking orders and stuff. So I tell her
Oh, the
like, you
short
gotta
order
stop
cook.
that. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
like where do kids get choices at? I didn't have no choices.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Right.
You
Exactly.
ate
We
it or you
agree.
It
didn't.
was there.
We're
Like,
with you.
like, what do
We're
you
with
Oh my
you.
gosh.
What do you?
Yeah.
100%
What do
with
you want
you.
to
My
eat?
parents
You
were
know?
not short order cooks.
Yeah.
Nope.
They were not even trying to entertain it.
Nope. This is dinner.
That's
Yeah,
You don't
it.
want
that's
it,
it.
don't
Don't
eat.
eat it.
You know
That's
what?
right.
I got Salisbury steak every Thursday for like the first 10 years of my life.
Was it a TV dinner?
Bish, I guess. I mean, it was gross,
He ate,
but I
on
knew what I
a,
was getting on a
like
Thursday.
cafeteria
And you're still
style.
here.
It was Monday was this,
But I knew
Tuesday
what I
was
was
that.
getting every Monday. I mean, 7 days a week. I knew exactly
Right.
what was going to be
She
for
needed
dinner.
a schedule. I'm not mad at
It was
that.
pasta twice a
listen.
week, hot dogs, meatloaf, and Salisbury steak,
Oh,
and it
jeez.
was
That
gross.
sounds terrible.
So
And I
listen,
ate it.
I told you could get spaghetti out of me. I'll give you a good day of spaghetti, right? And my spaghetti's good.
Uh-huh.
At the beginning they really liked the spaghetti.
At the
right?
beginning. Uh-huh.
They're
Is,
over it.
is it Chetch's
Now-
recipe?
They're tired of it now.
Yep. They're like, spaghetti
Might
again?
as-
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big question. Like, what are we gonna eat?
Cooking
we
is tough.
always have
Yeah.
that question.
Yeah.
And I try and get everybody together, like, listen, we're gonna put some ideas down, and that never works out. And it's just a never ending thing. And for a while there, we I was like, well, let's get like there was like something you can order.
HelloFresh
like,
or
I was
something?
gonna say
Yeah.
I'm gonna recommend HelloFresh
Nah.
to you.
Now it wasn't HelloFresh. There was something else.
Was it like a
But-
HelloFresh?
Yeah, it was one of those things.
Blue Apron?
So but
You used to do
something.
something through Fresh Direct.
Yeah, I loved Fresh Direct, but this one was like it came with the meals. But whatever it was, I was like, that is the solution. So I ordered it, and it was good. It worked out for a few weeks, and then
He said a few
everybody
weeks.
got sick of him. Everybody got sick of him. I'm like, dang, I can't win. I thought I was, I thought I had something, and then
You
I got
didn't.
this crazy idea one day. So my in-laws, right? They're like really cool, and they're up in age. So we like put some cameras in their house to kind of see what was going on with them.
Mhm.
So we're looking at them, and we're like, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They just.
Oh my god!
In terms
Can
of
only
what
imagine.
In terms of like they're eating like microwave pizza, that kind of thing, So, my wife and I, we talked about it, and we were like, well, first she was like, let's like redo their house, right? So they lived in Jersey, and we brought them down to our house so we could redo their house. We did it. It was nice.
That is so
And-
nice of you guys.
Yeah.
yeah, well, we took them back, and they were like, where the hell are we?
You
They
changed their
were
space.
they were in early stages of
Dementia?
dementia.
Yeah.
Both of them
Oh.
together?
Both of them together. So once we saw that,
Oh.
I was like, you know what? My wife was like, yo, let's move back up to New York, or to New Jersey rather,
Uh-huh.
right? So, I'm looking at the taxes.
Yep, they're high.
And,
You
I'm
should
like,
do that. They are
you know,
high.
Virginia's not that bad.
I'm
you know what
sure.
I'm saying?
I am sure.
So,
Frugal. So-
I'm like, I'm like, let's move them down, right?
exactly.
So we move them down to the house, right? We have the space. Why not?
Right.
How bad could it be, right?
You said, how bad could
was-
it be? Okay.
Right, and it was really cool. Just having them there with the kids. It was really good for them, and really good for us. But their condition, just it required more and more help.
Yep.
So
Wow.
at a point, we had to get them their own place, but they're like 5 minutes away. So we see them all the time, and it's really good to have them close. But while they were with us, it was like I had 5 kids,
Yeah.
which was crazy. So we got to experience that. So now that they have moved and we have a full-time caregiver for them, it's like these kids is nothing. It's like I'm floating on air now. It's like, yeah, I could do 3. It's not a problem. It's 5.
All right. So
Yeah, but it
tell
was a
us
lot.
about Okay, so what they say is statistically, you make the most money in your life in your 40s. However, in your case, you have 3 young kids. So where's that money going?
I don't know.
He's like, out of my pocket. That's what he said.
Out of my bank account. That's where I know it's coming from.
Yeah, it's going to school. It's going to
It's
school.
going to
You know,
school.
I get real worried like when my wife starts talking about school. You know, it's
Why?
because she's very critical of public schools, and she wants to go to these private schools. She wants the kids to go to these private schools, and those private schools are no joke right about now.
Yeah.
And you know, from like the baby, she's like, yeah, I want her to be on this Ivy League track, and you know, we want to get her in this and that. So I'm like, yeah, you know, and then she grows up and it's time to like get her into stuff, and she's like, oh, I had her on this waiting list and it came up, and I'm like, okay, and you know, it's real now, you know, it's real. So you know, we got to go to this school, and she has fun. She likes it, and before she went to the school, she was go to this daycare with this Muslim lady that I thought was really cool, and it was a little bit smaller, but it was reasonable pricing. You know, it was really cool, and she fed her good food. You know, I thought it was great. So now we in this thing, and it's a little different. You know, it's a little different.
How is it
Why
different?
is it different?
Because it's a lot more money. It's a lot more money. It's a lot more
So
money.
are all the kids in private school?
No, not right now. So the older two are public school at this minute.
Okay.
That we're filming this content.
So it sounds like soon.
Up to
It's
date
up for a
information.
discussion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but,
should have
you know,
moved to New Jersey, paid the taxes, and put them all in public school.
Yeah.
I think these schools are fine, you know, but because see, the way I see it is that it's more of what you teach them after the school, you know.
Yes.
And I told them that, like, look, you know, my job is to make sure that you grow up and have the tools so that when you leave, you don't come back. You know, that's
They always come back.
Oh.
I'm like, okay.
Let me tell you something with
I
my
think
friend.
I'm failing at this.
If that's the barometer. Doing
we
pretty
all
terrible.
have an F. We all have an F.
But what I'll share with you, Richard, on that level is our kids are older, 21 and 29. And I thought the same way, where like you kind of get to a point and they're kind of off and running on their own. But as a parent, you still think of them in the same way, and you still want them to be able to survive, thrive, do well, all the things. And you find yourself wanting to continue to still support, no matter the age,
Yeah.
no matter the point where they're at. So we're at this point in our lives where, like, well, what the hell else are we going to spend our money on? So let's make sure, like, let's nail in the coffin that the kids are going to do well, even in the, you know, grown age of being almost 30 or, you know, just turning 21. And it's like, well, what does the next phase of their lives look like? And how can we continue to still help and solidify, therefore change the trajectory of our last name?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the phase that we're at right now.
Yeah, well, I tell you this, like I said, when I jump into something, I jump into it. So I'm like, you know what? I said, if I could teach these kids one thing every week, you know,
That's right.
but
Yeah,
by
I
the
love
time they
that.
get older, they'll know something. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're gonna have a meeting every week, and I'm going to teach you something, right?
And
So-
how's that going?
Oh my gosh, the first few times, they, you know, it's like they were looking at me with the faces of like they were watching paint dry. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
What
have
kind
to
of
be
things are you
here, you know.
teaching
I don't know,
them?
but his son probably said, "I'm 6."
It's like, but I don't have my
You know what?
master's
I'm
degree
so-
yet.
Listen, I'm so thankful for him because he asked questions, you know. So I'm
That's
like,
What are
great.
you
okay,
teaching them?
we got some life in there, you know.
Yes, that's great.
I started with like say like books that I've like got information from that really resonated with me, like the Four Agreements, right?
Yeah.
Which I really, really believe in. You know, they are like uh mean what you say
What you
what you
do? Yeah.
mean. The first one. The second
Yeah.
one is don't take anything personal, right? The third one, don't assume anything. The last one, do your best, right?
Mhm.
So I would try and break those things down to get them to understand, and then just like, so I went through that. I went through like just a whole bunch of concepts that they probably don't remember, but
Can I make
But
a
they're listening.
suggestion?
But they're listening. That's one thing.
Can I make a
I hope
suggestion?
so. Sure.
What about teaching them life skills?
Oh, we do that too.
Like
We do that too.
cooking for their age, right? Like not like a gourmet meal, but just basic stuff.
How
The
to put
3-year-old can
nuggets in the air
participate.
fryer.
Nuggets in the air fryer. I love it. How to boil water for your oatmeal or hot chocolate or whatever, you know. Because I think sometimes in doing some of that, you can also incorporate some of the other stuff you just spoke
Mhm.
about.
Yeah, it's it's funny, but they I guess they got me, and that's just the way it is. They're gonna have to go through this, you know. They're just gonna have to go through this.
They got me. I
Kids are
love it.
tough.
Yeah,
I
they
have to
go.
tell you, I mean, us four sitting here, we became parents in our early 20s.
Well, he knows because he
No,
put,
I know. I'm saying it for the benefit of those that don't.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you spent a lot of time in our home, right? We had we were young with two young kids at the time. Now we have 3. And so, I don't know what you saw, but you probably saw a lot. And because we were kids, that's the truth of it. We were kids raising kids. We were doing the best we could. And being older and having the 13-year-old. So we had her in our mid 30s, very different experience, different place in life. So I could only imagine what that's like in your 40s. However, the one thing I know you don't have is energy. Because even me, right, like right now with the 13-year-old, I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm tired, right? I can only imagine what it's like to have, you know,
a 4-year-old.
a toddler at home, right? Like any kid under, I'll just say, forget toddler, under the age of 5 is little. They require a lot more. It's one of my favorite ages, though. By the way, I like them little, right? They're very sweet and cuddly. I love that, but they need a lot from you. And the thing is, you want to give a lot. I think as you get older, hopefully you have more time to do that, which I think in our 20s and 30s, we were very busy with careers and things like that, trying to establish ourselves. It eats a lot of your time with family, right? It eats into that a lot. So as you get older, that's kind of like they say older parents, one, tend to have more money and you have a little bit more time. But you don't have energy. You don't have the energy, right? So I don't know which way is better, to be honest, but
I don't know if one way is better or
Yeah.
the other, but I think Lisa made an interesting point earlier that they are always listening. So whether or not
Yeah.
you have the energy, if you're sitting around together, they are listening to you.
They are listening. Totally agree with
So
that.
it may not need to be an intentional conversation or an educational point or a sit down and have a meeting. And Lisa and I have been there and done that too, right? Where like they're like, here comes dad, and he's got another like educational point for us. Lisa and I would know that the kids are around us,
They're
and we would
listening.
watch what we say.
Yep.
And then even sometimes we'd be a
It'll
little
be
more
intentional.
intentional about the things we're saying without talking to them directly.
Because we know they're listening.
Because we know they're
Because
listening.
kids are nosy. They're always listening.
They're nosy and they
As they should
absorb.
be.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
And
they absorb a lot.
absorb. They'll be on their phone. I mean, you want to talk about people that can multitask?
Yep.
These kids can multitask, right?
Yep.
They'll be on their phone. They're doing this, that, and the other. They're on Snap. They're on whatever. They're talking to people, but they know that you just said something.
Yep.
Mhm,
I love
mhm.
that.
And you know what? It's the memory of it. So you say you're talking now, and your son, he asks questions, but for the most part they're just like glossy eyed. But this memory,
Mm-hmm.
10 years, 15 years from now, they're gonna be like, oh man, my dad used to make us sit for these meetings, and we talked about
Yeah.
how I shouldn't assume, and how I need to say what I mean and mean what I say. In fact, she could probably gonna regurgitate it in an argument with the person she winds up with, and she's like, say what you mean and mean what you say. If I learned one thing from my dad, it is to say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yep.
So
What? Oh my gosh! To know that she listened, that would really make me happy.
And they do. They do. I tell
They
you,
do.
Rich, there are points where like the kids will surprise you and they come
Yep.
up and say something. You're like,
Mm.
oh, snap. And Lisa and I look at each other like, oh, you see that? They were listening. They were listening, and it's worth
So-
more than you can ever imagine at that
Yeah.
point.
So I love the family meeting
Yeah.
idea. I think you should keep it going. And
I agree. You
Yep.
should definitely keep that going.
Oh yeah, I I have to. Because I enjoy it too, and I feel like I just want to make sure that no matter what, I give them something, that
Yes.
they can benefit from. But I try all things. So like the 13-year-old, she's like a Billie Eilish fan. She loves Billie Eilish. Really loves Billie Eilish.
Yep.
Like she has a chain that says Billie.
Did you
Oh,
take her to
wow.
the
Her name is
concert?
Billie.
She's touring right now.
No, my wife took it to the concert.
Oh.
Now it just so happens that one of my friends, like from way back, is a tight friend of Billie Eilish's manager.
Ooh.
Mm.
So I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, okay, I can, hook it up so you can meet Billie, right? She's,
That's
for real,
amazing.
for real. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, you got to read these 2 books.
Here you go.
She's like, nah, it's all right. I'm like, if you was a real
Aw.
Billie Eilish fan, I was like, you can listen to the book.
Yeah.
You don't even have to read it. She's like, nah, I'm busy.
She's like, I'm busy Eilish right now. Sorry.
Busy Eilish.
That's okay. I love Billie Eilish, but I don't like
Not that much.
I don't like her that much. she ain't worth 2 books.
What, Rich? What were the books? She was fighting him so hard. Like
Uh-huh.
he said, you could listen to the book.
Well, there's this one book called Verbal Judo that I'm trying to have them read and learn, because I feel as young Black children, they're gonna have to deal with a lot of people who are like going to try and verbally beat them down. I want them to be able to handle themselves and feel confident in every situation. So I've been trying to bribe them with everything that I got to get them to get this book.
You just gotta put it on in the car.
And
when
what
they're
was the
sitting in
other
there.
one? Was the other one another nonfiction book?
Oh yeah, they're all nonfiction books. They're all like, trying to program them some type of way. But so yeah, go ahead.
Did she? So what was the outcome? Was she like?
She wasn't messing with me. I mean, I got my boy one day. She happened to be in the kitchen, and I called my boy on speakerphone, and I was like, "Hey, I hear Billie's coming to town. What can you do?" And he was like, I told him that she was there. He was like, "Well, if she does what she got to do in school, and she reads the books, I can set it up." And she was like, I'm not gonna do it.
Sounds like a 13-year-old.
Like, nope. It's like, because
Oh
you know
my
what? I
God.
can catch her on Spotify.
I think I would have done it.
I would have
okay?
read that book.
Like
I
this,
would-
I would've
this
found the
age
Cliff
right
Notes.
now.
Oh my gosh.
I'd have
she
plugged
she
it
did
into
go to the show. Listen,
ChatGPT and
she should have went on ChatGPT. Listen, and listen, that's one of the lessons I'm trying to teach them. Is like, just figure out what I need, give me what I need, give it to me, and get what you need. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, you know. But they'll get it, and then I'll really have to figure something out when when they get that, you know. But
Yeah.
they're manageable, and then the little one, she's easy at this age, you know. She loves to like paint, and
It's adorable.
she tries
Mhm.
to sing songs, and
So you a girl
you know,
dad?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. You know, she's it's so cool, you know. She's like, "Daddy, you're my best friend." He's like, now, can I have some more bubbles, please?
until she doesn't get more bubbles.
Yeah, yeah. She knows what it is. I gotta watch her. She knows what it
Mhm.
is. But
So how do you
it's
think this
fun.
would have all played out even 10 years ago?
I don't know, because I think that my mind was, I was just on another mission. But I also think that it's like I said earlier, you know, when if I'm in a situation, you know, I'll deal with it, and you know, make the
Mhm.
best out of the situation. So I
Mhm.
mean, you know, it probably would have been fine, you know,
Mhm.
but I'm just glad that it's now, because I'm not chasing anything externally. You know, I'm like, you know, just cool, and I have
Mhm.
the time to fully dive in, and you know, go to, you know, extracurricular activities and be fine with it, you know.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very good.
But fam, I commend you guys. I mean, wow, man, I didn't know it was like this. Y'all made it look easy, man.
We
Did
made it
we?
look
We made it
easy.
look easy?
Shit.
Well, I guess maybe it looked easy because it wasn't me, you
Yeah.
know, but it was and I didn't realize how much time I had. I had time. Like
Yeah.
today,
Yes.
you know, the
Oh my
family
God.
wasn't there, so I went to the gym, and I worked out until I was finished.
Yeah.
Then I
He said
I said,
till I
you know
was
what?
finished.
I said, let me walk on this treadmill a little
Yeah.
longer. You
Yeah.
know, just
I
why
mean, when you
not?
said you get up at 3 a.m. to get stuff done, I think a lot of us can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not
This is
getting up
the
at
3
3
a.m.
a.m.
club.
But definitely it's like there's my day is full. I need to get up a little bit. I have to figure out where I can
Yeah.
carve out time to get other things done that have nothing to do with the family, right? Like I need to work, I need to do things just for me. So 3 a.m. I'm like,
Well, I'm definitely not a part of the Mark Wahlberg, 4 a.m. club, but it's like you do have to, you got to get up earlier in
Yeah,
order to
get up
do all the
earlier.
things, everything that we're looking to do, and
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the back nine of our lives. You got to get up earlier. Sometimes you got to stay up a little later, and you got to negotiate time with yourself and negotiate time with the people you love, and that's not always easy.
Yeah, it's
No.
not.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. You know,
Mhm.
it's like we gotta have schedules, and you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
keep things
The
together.
schedules are important. Yeah. Because it's
Yeah,
not
but
just you
it's
anymore.
fun.
Yeah. But it's like
Yeah,
it's all the things because you want the time for yourself, you want time with your wife, you want time with the kids, right? You want
right.
time with everyone. Work still has to happen. There's only 24 hours in a day and you need time to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you
Right?
juggle all those priorities?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Food, You know,
Oh.
that's why. Listen, I'm working extra hard, because I'm like, yo, if I can get like somebody to cook, then
You still
That was always his.
I know, like
life
you
Oh
will be
still
my
on
different.
that.
God. Well, nothing's changed because it's always. It's always.
Well, listen, because that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
like back when I was younger and in my production stuff, you know, I always
Yeah.
had somebody cooking, because that would take that would just
Right.
save me so much time. Just
Yeah.
knowing that that's taken care of and not have to worry about it. You
Yeah.
know, it's
I get
it
that.
was a really
I think
good
for
thing,
us it's
man.
cleaning, right? It's
It's
like having
cleaning.
help cleaning the house and maintain it. It saves a ton
But
of
it's cooking
time.
too. I mean,
Maya helped our oldest. She
our
helps a
oldest,
lot with the cooking. We use HelloFresh, by the way.
we
Yeah.
use HelloFresh,
Yeah.
and our oldest.
Yeah.
But before that, it was
It was you doing all the cooking,
yeah,
which
and
is a lot.
it was trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
like how do
Short order
I,
cook.
but also figuring out what's gonna be cooked. Do I have the ingredients? So having that stress off your plate, like if we had the resources to have a chef come and
Mm.
just make sure that dinner was cooked. Oh my God.
And cleaned afterwards.
right?
See,
prep.
for
Yeah.
us, it's the bartender at the parties.
We need a bartender.
That is worth
Oh my God.
all the amount of money that
You
you
know
can
what?
spare.
Yes,
is a
but I
good-
have to say,
this is
your
a good-
bartender comes with help that passes all.
That's
the
right. Our
hors
bartender
d'oeuvres,
comes with two
cleans up.
people.
This is a good lead into
Yes.
and Richard, I want you to share it because we always had gatherings, and of course we would have cocktails and drinks. And then Richard, you weren't much of a drinker. Can you
why
tell,
was that?
Can you tell people why?
Oh man. Well, my mother told me that I had a disease called Gilbert's disease.
Wait,
And
She gave it a name and everything.
Gil what?
No, it's
Oh,
Gilbert's
I
disease.
know. It's real.
Gilbert's. It's a
Gilbert.
real thing, right?
Okay.
And she showed me the paperwork on it, and what it is like your liver works like, half 50%. So it's easy for you to get
drunk.
alcohol poisoning
Mhm.
and die. And so I would maybe take a sip here and there or something, but it wasn't like a constant thing. And then I remember uh I was at like some party or something, and a friend of mine, she's a doctor. She's like, Rich, I never see you drink. Why don't you drink? And I said, well, I have this disease, blah blah blah. And she actually was very familiar with it. She's like, do you know what stage you have it at? And I'm like, stage? Nah. She was like, you need to go to the doctor immediately, tell them and find out what stage you got. So I went to the doctor. I was like, yo, I got this disease. I need to know what stage I got it at. And they ran all these tests. And they were like, you don't have this disease. Your liver was normal.
What
And then, so I called my mother.
His mother's a genius.
I'm like,
she's a genius.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Because
Tell
wait,
her,
how
and
old
it-
were you at
Wait,
this
let him
point?
finish.
I was like maybe 32 or 33.
Oh my
something like that.
Genius.
Like I was older, it was like too late, And I tell her, she started laughing. She's like, well, you didn't drink, right?
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Did
Wait,
she do
but
that to your brothers
That's
too?
what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. She only did that with you because you have a brother, right? No, two brothers and a sister, right?
Actually 3 brothers,
3.
right? So they didn't nobody's really a drinker,
But
what
still,
she
did they
said
all
too,
get that story?
I don't know. I
Like,
just
why
know
was
I
it
got
you?
it.
Because she didn't
And-
want him to drink too much at the freak offs.
That's
Oh,
what
it's
it
a
was.
freak
Right,
offs.
That's what it was.
Right.
Now
Right. I
At
forgot
special
about that.
at
The
special
freak offs.
conditions.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
man,
It's hilarious.
that's something. Yeah. So that
It
worked
worked.
out, and I plan to continue that tradition.
With your children.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you really don't drink much today, still, right?
Nah,
Yeah.
nah.
He drinks at
Yeah.
the
I drink at some get-togethers, and
yeah.
mainly with you guys. So
Yeah,
you can
but
tell
that's-
like it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, we certainly look forward to getting together live in person with you and your
absolutely.
family
And your family.
in the not too distant future. We're in the fall now, so we're let's talk about the holidays offline. Let's talk about how we get together. I want to first thank you from all of us for spending some time with us. We enjoyed the conversation. It was so great to connect and
Yeah.
hear some of the stories and some new things I think a few of us probably didn't know
Yeah.
about, right? So
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I mean, Friends After 40s, I think it's a great podcast. I mean, because there's definitely new frontiers that we're going into, like
For
you
sure.
said, looking into the next phase of our lives and what that consists of. So it's really timely that you guys do this podcast. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
All right.
Man.
Thanks again, Richard. We'll connect with you soon. And for everyone watching, still hanging out with us, listening, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for hanging out with Richard. We'll catch you all on the next episode of the Friends After 40 podcast.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.